You gonna finish that?
Yeah, I mean, I could finish it. All right, we're gonna do this though.
The guy.
All right.
All right. I'm Andy,
I'm Micah.
and this is Quarantine Dads, a new podcast because when you're stuck inside, all you need is more content, and that's what this is about.
And recently, we really do need more content because it is very important to call out the fact that they are not making any movies. They are not making any TV shows right now.
Maybe we'll get into that in a minute.
And I think, oh man.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. But really, the Quarantine Dads was born out of something we've talked about for a while, and now we just are looking for something to do as we enter the end times, which is we drink together, we're neighbors in Minnesota, we've reviewed bourbons and whiskeys together with our neighbors. I've thrown a few online, gotten some positive feedback from people that I'm connected to, so we figured, why not record it? Might as well. But it's really going to help if we lower the bar really, really low. Really low, like low enough to just barely trip over.
Well, that's,
and hopefully you like it enough to keep coming
That's
back.
kind of like how I live my life. I mean, if I set my bar so low, you'll always be proud of yourself.
Well, I told you as I walked in, I'm in a pair of joggers and an oversized cardigan, so I'm clearly living my best life on a Tuesday.
That is absolutely, yeah. And this is being recorded on a Tuesday evening. Our kids are, I think, asleep. I don't know.
Mine are. I don't know about yours.
I don't know. They're quiet.
No, mine are asleep. Mine don't let me leave the house until they're asleep. So what we're going to do is we're going to, every time we talk, maybe a little banter here and there and everywhere, talk about whatever there is to talk about. Nothing real specific, but the main star of these conversations is going to be a bottle of something for us to taste, enjoy,
drink,
relax, tell you about, and like I said, we'll see where we go from there. So what do we got tonight, Micah?
All right, so we decided, you know, bourbon is by far just the hot thing right now. I love it. I know Andy loves it. I mean, let's be completely honest. We started this because we really like drinking spirits and enjoying each other's company. I guess we could say that. We enjoy each other's company and talking and shooting the shit. But we're gonna actually start tonight out with a rye. And I'm actually really excited about it. It was something I stumbled upon at a larger liquor store system, and since then I know you bought a bottle. Mm-hmm. I bought another bottle just to keep on on reserve. Put it in my emergency stash, so to speak. But it's actually not a bourbon; it's a rye, and it is the Willet. Straight rye whiskey. It's their rare release. It's their family estate one. And pretty much everything they do is family estate. It is 110 proof, so it's a little higher on the alcohol content. Definitely doesn't drink like it though. 55.1, excuse me, percent alcohol by volume. You know, it's about 4 years old, according to their website. And you know, I try and I think of myself as a connoisseur and more of a technical person when it comes to this. Interestingly enough, bourbons, which are extremely popular, it's really all about those older bottles, right? When you get into those 12 years, the 15s, the 18s, and you start seeing 20s. Man, it's just so cool to see those. Rye is actually kind of the opposite. It's like the younger you get into that 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 is kind of getting a little old. Sometimes you see a few years older than that, but it's really just dependent on like just how much rye they're putting into the mash and everything. And I'll get into kind of the reason why a rye is a rye and a bourbon is a bourbon. I'll talk about why a rye is a rye tonight, and we'll save why a bourbon's a bourbon for when we actually taste a bourbon, which will probably be episode 2, if we get to an episode 2. But you know, let's get started.
Yeah, and one of the things I'll say as we're starting is, you and I were talking about what bottle to start with, and I really wanted to start with a rye. And I know we both like ryes. I tend to put ryes ahead of anything else I drink, and I liken it a little bit to, you know, for the craft beer drinkers out there who have maybe shifted to spirits or still alternate between the two. And I won't pretend to be someone who's really who was really ever immersed in the world of craft beer in terms of understanding the different hop profiles and things like that. But to me, drinking a rye, or the experience of drinking a rye, is a lot like finding a good IPA, which is, for a long time, IPAs were just kind of dump hops in, dump hops in, dump hops in, dump hops in, and they kind of got to this point where that seemed to be what making IPAs was about, is just how hard can we kick you in the mouth.
Right.
And at some point, it's got to be drinkable and enjoyable. You can't just go get through 8 to 16 ounces of one and go, okay, I'm done with that, give me something lighter. And finding a good rye is a little bit the same, because rye has that same quality of really hitting you in a way that even when it's smooth and balanced, there's still that kind of what a lot of people refer to as bite to it.
Yeah, spiciness.
But finding a real balanced rye, I think, is really something. I think it's hard to do, but it's also special when you find one that you can return to over and over and over again. Yeah. And I've had this bottle, obviously, like you said, and that's what I think this bottle is. So that's why we're starting with this one.
So I would like to actually say that Andy got me into ryes. I was not a big rye person, because my experience originally, I'm a huge bourbon person, had been for a number of years. My intro to ryes, and I don't want to bash on them, because there's definitely a place for something that has mass distribution and a consistent quality. And I think actually, if we get into what makes something so special, there really is something to be said for a consistent bottle, no matter where you are on the planet. Like Budweiser, the beer tastes the same no matter where you are. And my intro really into that was Bullet Rye, and very spicy, and there's a lot of heat behind it, and you got to take the cap off the top of the bottle if we want to pour it.
So go on, Bullet, while I do this.
So Bullet, I've been out to their distillery, I've done the tour, I really, really, really like them. Realistically, just, getting into more of the rye side, I love a rye Manhattan. Obviously, it's really easy to find those mass distribution things everywhere. So, if you can find one that you like, and really more importantly, one that you can gain access to time and time again, absolutely just hone in on it. I travel a lot for work, or I did before this happened. In that, really was in a situation where my go-to from a Manhattan standpoint was a
Woodford,
Manhattan. And it still is, from many aspects, but if I have this around, this is what we do. So,
and we got plenty of time to talk about that, but because hopefully we'll do this for a while, because we're not going to stop drinking together, so we might as well keep recording these conversations and hope people can enjoy them. But
are you saying I'm getting long-winded?
A little bit, yeah. But here, we're always going to do this the same. I think one of the great things about spirits, and what I've discovered more, because the first spirit I drank was Scotch, and there seemed to be, when I was taught about Scotch, the notion that you drink it neat, maybe with a touch of water, and that's it. And there was this very purist thing where, when I got into bourbons, that was the first time where I really heard someone watching the documentary Neat with you, actually. Yeah. It was really drilled in over and over again. You drink it how you like it. Yeah. But for tasting purposes, whenever we do this,
we're going to keep it the same. How do you like your bourbons? How do you like your ryes when we do the tastings? Because we've actually done a lot of these before even doing the recording, so that's why I got long-winded and everything else. So, how do you like it?
We're going to do one cube. We're going to pour enough in to float the cube, and then we'll talk through the 4 or 5 sips it takes to finish it off. So, here's 4-year-old Willet Family Estate Small Batch Rye.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much better with the ice cube in it. Mm-hmm. Why didn't we do that to start the episode?
Yeah, well, the first thing for me is, and I think you'll find with us, the first sip or two is probably going to be more about impression than it is flavors. I think that's a typical way that a lot of people drink. Mm-hmm. Your bourbons and your whiskeys and whatnot. But, for me, what makes this so good is because of how drinkable it is. It's smooth front to back, and you don't get that from the first sip of a lot of ryes.
Right. Or a lot of bourbons for that matter, right? I remember probably one of the first times we did bourbon tastings, and we're sitting there and talking back and forth, and you're like, you took a sip, and you're like, it burns, and I'm like, the first sip always sucks, right? Like, I think that's any distillery tour, any tour that you go on, any tasting you do, they're like, just get to the second sip, get to the third sip. But this truly is one of those ones where the first sip isn't especially for a 55% alcohol, which you're typically going to be at a 40% for most alcohols and most bourbons and most ryes. That's the 80 proof. That's where they want to be. Until you start getting into single barrel and until you get into some of the smaller stuff like this. And not to say that this is small. This is actually apparently a very, very easy bottle to find in a lot of locations across the U.S., across the world. And love to do an episode on how much bourbon and rye and whiskey the U.S. actually exports, because it's kind of crazy. And so that'll be definitely a future episode. But it's a smooth sip for 55% alcohol, 110 proof.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, we didn't say it when we introduced it, but one thing that we'll try to remember to do in the future as well is price point. And this is a $54 bottle.
Yep.
So it's not going to break the bank. It's a bottle you can feel comfortable. I think most people who are drinking at least somewhat regularly or enjoy having a couple nice bottles in the house, that's a comfortable price point for a lot of people.
Yeah,
without
absolutely.
having to go into 80, 90, 100, where you start to really get selective. And frankly, I think if you're going to spend that much, you have to know what you're talking about. And there are times that if I go into a liquor store, I feel very overwhelmed when I start to look at the higher price points, because I go, I'm not 100% sure what I'm looking at off the top of my head.
Well,
and I walk back to the things I know. Right. I think that's generally what people do.
Stay in this. I mean, if you're going to spend, present company excluded, if we're I normally try and variety is the spice of life, and so if I'm going to spend at that price point, and it's definitely sub $100, I'm not going to, unless doing a decent amount of research and looking into a bottle, I'm not going to spend probably even over $80 on a bottle of rye, a bottle of bourbon, but if you look at and you start to understand what you like, and hopefully this show can help you identify what you like. I'm really excited, to talk about the differences in bourbons and the differences even in rye. So one of the things that I kind of have done a decent amount of research on is the spiciness or that heat note that's really attributed. And here, cheers, we'll do the second sip. Oh, that's just so tasty. But one of the taste notes and one of the real notes of spiciness is actually the percentage of rye they use when they make their mash and when they do their distiller's beer or do the wort that they call it. It's called a bunch of different things, but really, they make beer. But they make it heavily with rye. Has to be at least 51% rye. And that's the stipulation for making a rye whiskey. And there are actually companies out there that make it with 100% rye. And that's crazy to me to think of.
It's crazy to me to think of, and I want all the rye you can give me, and it's crazy to me to think of. But the second sip is where it starts to. You'll come to understand Mike is far more the technical one of the two of us. That comes from experience and background. He's in the tech industry, and I am not, so I think his brain is just hardwired that way. But that second sip, you really do pick up. I think the strongest thing I pick up is cinnamon.
Oh, it's so, yeah. It's cinnamon, it's toasty, it's warm. I mean, it's not spicy. Like, for other ryes that I've had, other ryes that you've had, it's got the rye note. It's not overly spicy. And that, getting back to what I was going to say, 100% rye, interestingly enough, Belvedere vodka. 100% rye.
Someday we'll have a conversation about beet vodka.
Yeah.
Mike's favorite, but we'll save that for later on.
Sugar beets should just go to be sugar and just be done with that. And then definitely not.
Dwight Schrute would be disappointed.
His beet farm would be.
He would be so disappointed. Schrute Farms, you are single-handedly putting Schrute Farms out of business by your refusal to drink beet vodka.
I thought NBC did that.
No, but interestingly enough, there was just a story that I read. Because this is what we do when we drink. We go off on tangents. So, dear listener, you are now subject to this. I just read a story that was actually there's I don't know if it I believe it's a book that's being published on The Office, and that's such a weird situation that Steve Carell supposedly
they
people were
forced him
adamant
out.
in it. In the story that I read, didn't even talk about forcing him out so much as there was a leadership change at NBC, and they just never bothered to offer him a renewal.
Yeah,
and it's like, on what planet do you come in and not take that show seriously? Because I can't imagine they were in season 6 or 7 when it happened.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think it was. Well,
because
it was
right
around the same time they brought Will Ferrell in. I think it was 5 or 6.
Right,
6 or 7,
yeah. Because it's on Comedy Central and Loop right now, and the greatest thing is my 6-year-old, my 4-year-old are obsessed with The Office. Oh, yeah. So instead of having to turn on Disney Junior or Disney Plus or anything like that, I can just turn on The Office around dinner time and leave that on in the background, and it's a much more enjoyable soundtrack.
Yep. Parks and Rec. That's that Parks and Rec.
I never got into Parks and Rec. I want to, but I just for some reason it just. And I know it's funny. It's one of those shows that I watch now. If I watch 10 minutes of it, I laugh. Mm-hmm. But I just, with my. I read 400 pages of various books last week and didn't watch a lot of new television, even though we're locked up inside. That just tends to be where I go with my free time.
I'm going to tell you this much. You're probably going to end up watching Parks and Rec based on current circumstances and everything else.
And now the newest show I'm watching is Black Monday. It's a Showtime show about the stock market crash in the late 80s. I think it was 87.
I need to watch it. I just finished Tiger King, but
it's like a dark comedy version of The League, and I'm not sure what to make of it yet.
See, you and I both loved The League.
Well, I won't say who doesn't, because I know some people who don't. But my wife laughed at the League, and I was shocked as hell when she did it, frankly. Yeah. So another sip of this before I keep talking about The League.
All right. We could talk about The League. We could talk about Parks and Rec. We could talk about. Definitely The Office. What we got other ones that we watch?
Are you going to take that sip or not?
I'm not going to lie, I was nursing that one a little bit. No, I'm just kidding.
There is some... we've had this before, we've talked about this before, we've made that clear. So this may be different because we've had some time to process this one in a different way than if it's a new bottle. But to me, there's some fruit. Yeah, there's fruit. Fruit I pick up is more orange than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I know we have kind of checked our palates a time or two, and I know there's some things out there. I think the distillery website actually talks about cherries. I personally don't pick up cherries. I pick up oranges as the main fruit.
I get a great fruit note. I get, and it definitely is a citrus fruit for me. Interestingly, on the nose, the second sip, I got a little cherry, but I didn't taste it when it hit the palate. I do see this as definitely, especially the second time doing the Willet walkthrough and everything like that we prepped before we did this one. We did a dry run.
Look at that. We prepared for episode 1. Don't expect preparation in episodes 2 and beyond. It ain't going to happen.
Lower your expectations.
Lower them from here. Even if you enjoy this, drop them by at least 40%.
Yeah. I was going to say more than 40. I was going to say that.
I like to hold myself to a high standard. Like I said, I came over in joggers and a cardigan. I obviously have standards.
Yeah. You came over in your new mint shoes too. By the way.
I did. Fantastic. I got some mint Adidas Continentals.
I know.
Found a sale and wore them today for the first time. Surprisingly, there were like pillows on my feet. I did not expect it.
So they've redone the soles.
Yeah,
Okay.
they clearly have. And I picked up the same shoe in an off-white with pink and aqua accents. And I'm pretty... Well, tomorrow's supposed to rain in Minnesota. So, yeah, I won't be wearing those until the weekend because those two pairs of shoes are sunny day shoes.
Oh, yeah, like they can't see water.
No, not at all. I would...
Yeah.
Would
Fun
lock
fact,
myself away
we're
forever.
both actually divas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like to shave.
No.
You know, if I didn't have to do Zoom video conferencing, we've established that I would. I don't know if I would cut my hair or trim the beard down, but thankfully, because I have a wife who loves me and likes a little bit of scruff, I've basically not been clean shaven since our wedding 11 years ago, and I wasn't clean shaven for our wedding. But, you know, I'm an every 5 days guy. Like one length, face, head. Started losing my hair long ago, so got rid of it in college at the age of 22, got ahead of the curve. I knew what was coming.
You knew it was coming.
My dad is a fantastic man. He does not have hair, and I saw the writing on the wall. So started getting rid of it. But, you know, earlier this week, or late last week, I realized I was going to have to do a Zoom call with someone, and I had like 2 weeks going. The nice red coming through the beard, you know, which I'm really proud of when it gets long enough. That's how I know it's getting long, is when it starts to turn red. And I had to get rid of all of it, and I was very sad. Now everyone wants to do video conferencing, and I don't know what to do with myself.
I've got the grizzly going on, despite Teams meetings for me. You know, I've got the grizz going. I've got the hair going. It's getting long enough now that I'm like, I should probably cut it. But you know what we don't have right now? I can't go to a salon. Unlike Italy, I don't think any stylists or anything like that are coming to people's homes to cut their hairs.
You know, well, I mean, I wouldn't be so sure. I would not be so sure. But yeah, I mean, essential service is a weird thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're an essential service. I'm technically an essential service.
You know,
not really essential to a lot of things, but you know,
78% of Minnesota is essential services or something like that. Even though we're at a stay-at-home order, but I mean, look, it doesn't mean 78% of us are going to work every day. I mean, if you can stay at home, stay at home.
Right.
You know, there is science. It exists, but that's probably all we're going to talk about the coronavirus. Because Quarantine Dads, well, it's born out of being quarantined. It's not about the coronavirus.
It's science. It's science.
It really is. 60% of the time it works every time. Nailed it. Another one?
Another one.
Last one on this glass.
Bottoms up. Oh, just a great whiskey. Yeah,
it really is. I don't know that there's much more to say about it than what we already have. It's just so balanced is the word I keep coming back to, and that's just, to me, it's like, I'll hammer this again and again, but it's not something that I typically find in ryes.
I completely agree. I think that we have a very well balanced bottle. I think that we have a very, very well tasting drink that is easy on the palate. The only other thing that I would say about this is we have to drink it in our favorite way.
What's that, Micah? What is our favorite way?
We're going to be drinking this. And
ooh, he hid glasses under his desk to present to me as a surprise. This is delightful. I think I know what this is.
So
I already put on Christmas.
I already put my personal favorite bitters, which is Fee Brothers Orange Bitters, because I feel like you can skip putting that orange twist in because it's very, very. They did a great job of capturing the oils and the tannins that are in an orange rind. And in the orange flavor, and then obviously some sweet vermouth.
So we're having a Manhattan.
We are going to have a Manhattan.
We're having a non-measured out Manhattan. This will be good.
Yeah, well, nobody is more heavy-handed than I am, so good luck with that.
That's actually true. That's how I met him, is he poured me a drink, and I realized that I was dealing with someone who I should not... I needed to be careful around, and I should not take for granted. Should never assume it's going to be an easy night.
Can we save at least the 4th of July story for?
Yeah, we'll save that. I mean,
maybe for the 4th of July episode.
Once we know that people aren't completely appalled by us or find us horribly uninteresting to where we're 3 episodes in and deciding that we're listening to ourselves talk is not something we need to do while recording. Yes, we'll tell the 4th of July story because that's how I knew we were going to be friends. But we'll save that for another day.
There's a virus going on. Where did you put my tongs?
I don't know. They're on your desk.
I would actually say that this is high enough proof that it does kill the coronavirus.
Oh, actually, there was I also saw something today that some Minnesota distillers have actually. Did you see
switched?
This?
Yeah.
No. A couple Minnesota distillers. I believe it was Du Nord, Tattersall.
I love Du Nord. Tattersall.
There was a third one. I just briefly saw it today.
Beats.
They formed a collaboration to actually make hand sanitizer and distribute it because of shortage. So bravo to them.
Yeah.
They'll be at the very least a Du Nord bottle in our future that I can think of. We won't talk about it now, but that'll be in our future. Maybe we'll do a Minnesota flight as our first flight episode on some locals.
You mean the liquor run?
Yeah. You want to talk about the liquor run?
All right, so we're going to probably do this quarterly, not committing to anything. You left me one gummy bear, and you left me my favorite gummy bear. I appreciate that.
Gummy bears are a staple.
Yep. If you didn't notice in our picture, we always have gummy bears around.
Albanese gummy bears, they are, I buy them for my children, and then I eat half a bag on the way home, and my children wonder why they're already opened and gone.
Funny story, I actually stopped into the outlet there once, and I love pineapple gummy bears, which is actually the one that he left me. So thank you, Andy.
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Know me so well.
You're welcome.
I bought a pound, and they wrapped it up in a really certain manner that actually was 2.2 kilograms. Or wait, that's backwards. It was 2.2 pounds, and it was a weight of a key. Wrapped up looking like a key, and I went through O'Hare Airport. Needless to say, I got randomly selected to have a bag inspection. This was right before Easter last year. And as I'm sitting there, I'm like, it's the gummy bears, is it? And he goes, is that gummy bears? And I was like, yeah, it's gummy bears.
You thought you were bringing back a kilo of something illegal. No, sir. It's just
pineapple gummy bears.
It's nearly 2.5 pounds of pineapple only gummy bears. That's all it is, I swear. That sounds about right.
Yeah, but it was just absolutely funny to me because he pulled it out and I was like, do you want some? And let's be honest they were completely for me. I shared with my kids. And they absolutely enjoyed it. I really that was just a funny thing for me from that standpoint. And again, I'm getting long-winded, so
no, that's fine. That's fine. We'll get used to it. I mean, anything else on your mind tonight? Now that we have these glorious rye Manhattans in front of us.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, by the way, the other night you tipped me onto a new kind of bitters.
So how was the backstrap bitters?
Blackstrap, I think. Blackstrap?
It's
backstrap.
Backstrap. I want to say it's backstrap molasses.
I felt like it was blackstrap bitters.
It could be.
I'm searching my phone. It's blackstrap.
We have been drinking.
It's blackstrap. It's not backstrap. It's blackstrap.
It's blackstrap.
So really, really good. That was the first time I've actually made a real point of smelling the bitters when I open them. Mm-hmm. And
do you ever put like just a little drop on your pinky and taste it?
I did not, only because I'm self-conscious and I wanted to, but my wife was there and I'd never done it before and I wasn't sure if it was appropriate to do with bitters or not. And so my insecurities got the best of me and I just decided to smell it. And then I put my nose too close to the bottle and I got it on my nose. So
you smelled it the whole time?
Yeah, so basically I huffed bitters.
Nice, that's solid.
Yeah. But it was interesting because I could pick up the sweetness, from the molasses in those, and it really gave the Manhattan a lot softer of a finish than it usually has.
Oh, I suppose the sweetness would polish that off.
Yeah,
quite nicely,
so it was like, that it was interesting because obviously Manhattans are boozy. Like if you make a non-boozy Manhattan, son, you're not making a Manhattan. But
you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, but the finish was not as boozy as a typical Manhattan with even orange bitters. It really rounded it off. So well, I liked them a lot. And that was, it's Blackstrap. Is the variety. Yeah.
So I think then, in the next time we do Manhattan,
you
have to bring it over and we'll have to do it.
Bring them over
but
and we'll do
I
that.
really like Fee Brothers. The Orange Bitters does a really, really, really good job. I am not going to pronounce the vermouth that I put in here.
No.
Because I can't do that right now.
Minnesota's got a really good, because where we live, it's not far from us. Granted, I don't know that you can go there and buy them wholesale, but Minnesota's got Dash Fire, which is a good local bitters company that we have up here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Write that down for a future
Look at
episode.
you taking notes.
I
can look at you considering we're in your office. I can envision you working, being on conference calls, taking notes, eating gummy bears, a whole variety of things in here.
There's so much candy stuffed into random places in my office.
I've noticed that every time your kids ask for candy, I think they're going to walk into your kitchen and they walk into your office instead.
So we did a scavenger hunt for Christmas for the kids for their Christmas gift, and one of the notes. Now I'm trying not to be long, but one of the notes for my youngest daughter was the place where you steal candy from, and she immediately picked it up, read it, and ran into my office to find the next clue.
Oh, that's funny.
And it wasn't even a second guess. It was like the place where you steal candy from, because it's been a little bit less since I've been in my office for the past month, but I definitely see from maybe once or twice a week my youngest daughter coming out of my office just chewing on something or eating something, and it's candy that she's stolen from my office.
Absolutely. So we finish our Manhattans, because I have a feeling maybe we'll just finish every episode with Manhattan, because I'm fine with that. I'm sure you are too.
Well, as long as we have a spirit that will work in a Manhattan.
Right? Who doesn't like a gin Manhattan?
I mean, as long as it's an aged gin Manhattan.
The eye roll he just gave me while thinking about that was pretty intense.
I was like, okay, not a regular gin, but an aged gin or a barrel gin. Barrel gin Manhattans are actually very good.
At some point, I would imagine we're going to branch out into other spirits. But right now, we're going to stick with your bourbons, your whiskeys, your scotches, your Irish whiskeys. That's where we live. That's how we met. That's probably one of the pillars of our friendship, frankly. And it also gets us by in these trying times, being indoors or limited in our movements with 5 combined children under the age of 9.
Well, under the age of 10.
Your oldest is 10. God, I could never...
He will be 10.
See, he's 9 right now. I knew this. He's not yet 10.
But it's a less than or less than or equal to.
So anywho, we'll be here at least once a week, and frankly, in the end times, it might be multiple times, especially if we get some positive feedback, because we'll take advantage of these conversations where we can get them as we scatter our taste buds around to different things.
So the most important part, what everybody came to see. Actually, nobody came to see it. Everybody came to listen.
I mean, that's a good point. It is a podcast.
It is a podcast.
We're not running a vlog, Micah.
I mean, not yet.
Oh, God.
I pushed Andy, and I really wanted to do this with video, but he said no. And so if you want to see us video this as well,
then tell Micah.
Tell
him,
me. Tell us on Instagram. Tell us on Twitter. And ultimately, if we have enough people watching, we may do this with video as well, but not for the foreseeable future. The most important part, what everybody really wants, is how do we rate this? And are we going to do a 5-point? Are we going to... You know what? I
thought about this.
You do 5. I do 5.
I think we should do a 100-point scale.
Really?
Yeah, because I think, and I was thinking about.
So
this.
do I get 50? You get 50, and then we combine them? I think that would be cool.
Yes, let's do that. So we each get 50 to create the 100-point scale.
Yeah,
that works. So, without further ado, then on your 50-point scale, we both have to write down numbers, right?
Yep,
I mean, that's how this works. I'm in your office. I don't have a pen. I could write it in blood, but I might have to bite my finger a little harder than I'd like to tonight. So if I could have a pen, that'd be great.
Here is a pen.
Thank you.
Here is... Oh, you've got your paper.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to do it on 5 different categories. I think that's actually the way I want to do it, because I'm super technical and nerdy, and I am thinking of my categories on the fly right now.
So I go on feel, but the one thing is, because we are general consumers, we are not. I mean, well, we like it. We're not hard and fast experts, and we're certainly not industry folks at this point. Although we'll talk about the process of barreling our own and aging our own bourbon for 19 months, which turned out surprisingly well recently. But we'll talk about that next time.
And it's hidden actually in our logo.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next time. But I go more on field and breaking it down. I mean, I've talked everything I like about the Willet Straight Rye Family Estate Small Batch. It's got a good. It's drinkable. It's smooth. It's really easy for a rye on the palate, start to finish, and that's from sip 1 to the end of the glass. And I really think it's balanced in terms of the profile. It's got the right amount of rye, the right amount of heat to it, while being balanced out. Plus, I think it's fantastic value if you're finding it for that $50 to $55 range, which is what we found it for.
And I even actually found it on Flaubert, which is one of the places that we do actually plan on posting reviews to. And up until I hit refresh when we started the episode, they still had a bottle on there for $67 that would be delivered to any state that actually you can ship alcohol to. So you got that's the asterisk, but
I take everything into account, and I'm talking value proposition too, because I think that's important when drinking. Do you feel like you're drinking something that's good value for your liquor cabinet and your chosen budget? So I'd give it a 43 out of 50.
Ooh, so we did 43. He did a 43. So, I mean...
Now Mike is going to take the next 10 minutes to explain his rating system.
So
I gave him the wrap it up signal, and now he created his own rating system instead.
I created my own rating system while you were explaining what you wanted to rate it for. So I'm going to do 5 categories. I want to do mouth and the mouth feel, which I think that's really important. I've actually had some spirits that just really feel. There's no other way to say that, fatty. Like, if you eat something that's really, really, really fatty or dry on how that feels. And
go on mouthfeel.
Yeah, so go on mouthfeel. I'm going to go on burn.
I'm here to steer you.
I'm burn. Okay. You're here to keep me in line.
Yeah.
You've always been here to keep me in line.
So we got mouthfeel, we got burn.
I got complexity.
Complexity is a good one. Yeah.
I have finish.
Okay.
And then I have overall taste.
Okay. All right.
And so I'm going to do an 8 on mouthfeel. I really feel like my mouth feels like...
Your mouth feels an 8.
My mouth feels an 8.
Your mouth feels like an 8.
It does. There's a overall just pleasant taste to it. Burn, I'm going to give it probably a 7.
Mm-hmm. Granted, I give me a rye that you're going to give more than an 8 on burn.
I mean... Give me a rye that you're going to give me more on a 7.
All right.
So, this is going to be...
Fair enough. So we got an 8 on mouthfeel, a 7 on burn. How about complexity?
I like the tasting notes of it. It does... It is very one note. And that would be one of my things that I would say with it. It doesn't change a lot. You always have to take the first sip out of your tasting, and that's my opinion, because, like I said, a lot of people say the first one sucks, the first one burns. You have to acclimate your mouth to what you're drinking, and I would say from a complexity standpoint, not the most complex, but just such a good drink. And so I'm gonna give it a 5.
Okay.
Which is a little lower. Finish
and taste is what we got left.
Yeah, and finish is very clean. You made a joke to beat. I mean, that...
Don't go there. Another episode. We're going to be here for another 10 minutes.
From a finish standpoint, very clean. Very clean. I'm going to give it a 9. You do, rye, you still get that that taste on the back end. Overall taste, though, I got to give it a 9 as well. Like I said, this is a staple. We're at 38.
Wow.
If you're going to make me break it down and give me a ton of points to spread, I'm going to rate it lower than I would if I would have rated it just simply on a 5-star system.
Now I'm going to give you a choice. So we're at a combined 81 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to give you a choice to consider any other factors not in your rating system, and then from an 81, see if you want to move it up at all, or if you want to keep it at an 81. Because I'm factoring in things like value, etc., which are things that go beyond the taste category.
I will say, and I know you take it into account a lot, and I don't want to necessarily just diminish the fact that, you know how much I've spent on some bottles of bourbon.
I do. Yeah, we'll talk about that someday.
And no joke, it's a lot. I consider myself a collector, and I really, really enjoy a lot of different things. Price doesn't really come into account to me. To be completely honest, I would probably spend up to $150 on this bottle, and that is that's not a joke. I love this bottle of rye. It is so good. For me, you're going to see me rate bourbons higher than this, but that's just because I'm not as versed on rye. And the spiciness for me is something that I have to adjust to, and that's my flavor profile of it. So I'm gonna put it at an 81. 81,
but clearly value there in the bottle. So we'll leave it at that. What you will know is visit us if you liked what you heard. Visit us. Send it on to friends. We're gonna keep doing this for at least a while. Because we got time on our hands. We got bottles to drink on our hands. QuarantinedDads.com is the website. QuarantinedDads.com.
Or IndoorDads.com.
You can also be redirected there if it's easier to spell just by going to IndoorDads.com and it will redirect you. But the landing page is QuarantinedDads.com. And on Twitter and on Instagram at DadsQuarantine. DadsQuarantine. I spelled all that correctly. So at Dad's Quarantine on Instagram.
It sounds like you have not had enough to drink to be able to spell that correctly.
Give us a follow, and then we will also not only post a written review on our website, but we also will post those reviews on Flaviar, FLAVIAR, and Distiller.com, two main liquor review websites. So we'll post our reviews there under Quarantine Dads as well. But if you're listening, thanks for lasting in this long. We'll try. And our goal was to keep it to about half an hour going forward. Half an hour, 35 minutes.
45 minutes max. You know,
45 minutes is good for a first episode. But give us a follow. Forward us on. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. Micah, final thoughts.
It's awesome to actually be able to do this. We've been talking about it for over a year.
Sounds good. Well, stay safe, stay sober-ish. Enjoy whatever.
You can't stay sober.
Sober-ish, and enjoy whatever it is that's in your glass.
And what I've been told to say, which is what I say to my kids all the time, we can't go outside. There are bears out there.
Cheers.